Hey, it's your boy Kai. Welcome to the Kyrus Has Friends Podcast, where I sit down with the people that mean the most to me, and those people are my friends. Before we get started today with my interview with Dan Maurer, be sure to follow me on your favorite social media platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at The Vibe with Kai, or you can visit my official website at thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and visuals that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. You can also visit thevibewithkai.com to get your official Vibe with Kai gear. Get your hats, get your t-shirts, get your hoodies. Kick off 2021 in style and with good vibe gear. My guest today is a screenwriter, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning theater director, and a digital marketing strategist. His screenwriting work is currently trending on Hollywood's renowned Blacklist website, which has become home to some of the hottest unproduced screenplays in all of the entire film industry. His scripts have received praise in prestigious competitions, including being named finalists in the Austin Film Festival and the Page International Screenwriting Awards. Today, my friends, Dan and I will be talking about Marvel's WandaVision, the newest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Dan believes that this show is a flop. I think that he is dead wrong. We'll debate that and so much more on the Kyrus Has Friends podcast. Please note that this podcast episode features WandaVision spoilers and MCU spoilers. So if you're not caught up on the show on everything MCU, this is your warning. Turn the podcast off right now. With that said, enjoy my interview with the one and only Dan Maurer. I'm sitting here with the wonderful one and only Dan Maurer. What's up, Dan? How you doing, my friend?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
What's going on? You and I, we haven't talked in quite some time. I feel like it's been some time since you and I had a conversation.
Yeah, it's true. You know, it's funny. We actually go back to, oh boy, what year was Charlie Brown?
Ooh,
I think that was our first show
Brown
together.
Had to be like 2005, 2006.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, like, yeah. What were you like in high school in those days?
I just graduated high school, and I graduated high school in 2005, and you know what? This was the first show. Charlie Brown was the first show I did after I graduated. I believe it was I think it was January 2006. I believe was when I did this show, when I did Charlie Brown, which was a great experience. That was a great cast, great crew, that was fun, man.
Yeah, it was. First time we worked together.
Yeah.
And the last time was Shrek, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Shrek was 2013, 14? See, this is what happens for all the young people out there. Don't get old because we can't remember anything. What day is it?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh no, I'm happy. I'm happy to be sitting here with you, my friend. I wish it were under other circumstances. At some point, I'm gonna have you back on so we could talk about some of the other things that you do, because you are an author, you are a writer, director, marketer. We both work in marketing. I would love to do a podcast on marketing in general.
Sure.
So at some point we'll do that. But alas, there are more important things that we need to discuss. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to this conversation that Dan and I are about to have, because we are going to be discussing WandaVision. Once again, just like I said in the intro, if you are not caught up on WandaVision, it's your best bet to stop listening now, because we are going to be talking about things all the way up to episode 5. So if you are not at that point, you should probably turn this off and go watch it right now. Dan and I will be debating whether WandaVision is a flop or not, because Dan believes that it is a flop. It is Marvel's first flop, is what he's saying. So what's going to happen is, since I challenged him, I will present my argument first, and then he will give his rebuttal, and then a conversation will ensue. I've split the conversation up into 7 different topics, all of which Dan was given in advance so he can prep for his losing case. My hope is that this debate will spin into utter chaos, and as a result, I will be elected president of the United States. That's the plan.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
I'm ready to do this. Okay, so let Dan.
I love you all. You're all good people.
It's gonna be great. Listen, let's talk about how we got here. So I'm gonna read a quote. This is a quote that's directly from you. You wrote this
Go
on a
for it.
public forum. I'm going to read it word for word. This is what you said. You said, "It's official. Marvel has its first bomb. Boy, does it disappoint. Struggled to get through it. Here's my next prediction. Please be sure to screenshot this as well. I predict that if it continues on this creative path, WandaVision will be the first Marvel TV show on Disney Plus to be canceled/discontinued due to low viewership. As soon as other Marvel/Star Wars shows come online, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, The Book of Boba Fett, etc., they will see this as the lowest rated of all of them and quietly stop making episodes." That is how we got started on this. Dan had posted this on the Facebook. I had rebutted it, and he rebutted my rebuttal. And I was like, you know what? Damn it. Let's come on my podcast. Let's talk about this. Now, mind you, he wrote this after 2 episodes. And I'm curious to see if his mind has changed at all. I don't think it has. But with that said, let me present to you my opening argument here, Dan Maurer. Is it a flop? Absolutely not. This show is absolutely not a flop. We haven't had any MCU offerings in over a year, if not more, because of the pandemic. So this show is exactly what the doctor ordered for so many cartoon Marvel fans. Because of this show's success over the past 5 weeks, Fridays have become this even more of an anticipatory day, more so than what it has been. Now, mind you, to your point, did the show get off to a slow start? Yes, I will concede that. But not slow enough for it to be considered a quote-unquote flop. Marvel was quite smart because they knew that people like you, Dan Maurer, were going to be saying things about the first 2 episodes. So what did they do? They released both episodes at the same time. They did that because of people like you, Dan Maurer, who have no patience. They dropped the first 2 episodes at the same time. It's brilliant. You know why? Because they know what they're doing. Additionally, we're all learning that the slow starts is some of the best storytelling that we've seen. Elizabeth Olsen is playing this role brilliantly and adding a depth to that character that you don't see in any other superhero movie. Paul Bettany slowly starting to realize that something's off in this town. It's so gorgeous to watch. The acting, the mystique in this show is far, to my opinion, far superior to The Mandalorian, which is a show that I love. I thought the second season of The Mandalorian was fantastic. Now, according to Parrot Analytics, and yes, I did my damn research. According to Parrot Analytics, they said, and I quote, "Comparing the first 4 days of availability, WandaVision is not living up to the incredible demand precedent set by The Mandalorian. Per Parrot's data, but is nevertheless performing strongly in the top 0.2% of shows in the United States and around the world." They continue and say, on their respective launches, WandaVision was actually 24.5% more in demand in the United States than The Mandalorian was, per Parrot. Though the streamer did boast more subscribers at the time than of the former's premiere. Demand for The Mandalorian grew significantly day over day following the release of episode 1, while demand for WandaVision has flatlined/slightly declined after the first 2 episodes were launched on January 15th. Parrot Analytics expect demand for WandaVision to grow again after the release of new episodes. But at this point, it doesn't look like it will catch The Mandalorian anytime soon. With that said, none of that information points it to being a flop. And as the story unfolds over the next couple of weeks, and the major buzz surrounding these surprise characters and returning characters and all of this and the unfolding of the story, there is no way that this show is a flop. Dan Maurer, I yield my time.
Well, Kyrus, I'd like to agree with you, but then I'd be wrong. Okay, this is let's sort of level set here for a moment. And bring your audience up to speed a little bit. Mm-hmm. For those who may not know me, I am a Marvel fan. I've seen all the Marvel movies. I think Kevin Feige is a god. He is by far, probably now rivals Steven Spielberg as one of the most
that's
successful.
a big statement.
The most successful producers of films, and so I want to sort of put that out there. And when I talk about WandaVision as a bomb, I'm talking about relative to Marvel products. Okay.
Okay.
Now there are many issues beyond sort of the Marvel sort of circle that are problematic with the series. But let's just sort of start there. Okay. I did notice, however, that everything you talked about, and almost everything, not all of it, but almost everything, really had to do with your excitement and desire to see more Marvel, and very little about the actual storytelling and the choices made. So if we talk about WandaVision, good acting, good production values, but the show is held back by questionable story choices. Listen, you don't get to work on a Marvel projects unless you're a good writer, a good showrunner. Okay, so the skill level is all there. I mean, if you want to, okay. By the way, we're not going to talk about like the Inhumans and those other Marvel projects because those are not.
We don't talk about those.
Pardon?
So we don't talk about those.
No. Though I will give Daredevil season 1 props. Okay. But really, you got to take a look at WandaVision as this is Kevin Feige's first TV project. Okay. Now, granted, he's not the showrunner; he's the executive producer, etc. So here's really the issue. How do I put this? WandaVision is to Kevin Feige what 1941 was to Steven Spielberg. An admirable attempt at sort of pushing the creative boundaries that just didn't work. And so when I talk about flops, okay, I'm talking about sort of pushing the boundary. It didn't work. And now they're stuck with 9 episodes they've already shot, and it's still not working. And it's not just me. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes audience ratings, they went from the 90s to the 80s to the 70s. Now, here's the thing. When you sort of take a look at the things that you're talking about, the excitement every Friday, you said yourself, there was nothing for a year. This show, okay, is living off of the demand that Marvel has created, and not so much on the creative aspect of the show. And fundamentally, okay, you go back to the idea of it's all pent up demand. If they had sort of flipped the schedule, now obviously they couldn't do this because of like COVID and all that.
Yes, because the world was on fire.
If they had released, Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then they came out with WandaVision, I guarantee those numbers would not be in the 70s. They'd probably be in the 60s or 50s, because they would have sucked up all of that sort of pent up demand, and then people would have hit WandaVision and said, "What the hell is this?" Okay, so when I say take a look at this. Let's just sort of take a look. The biggest fundamental issue really has to do with like how the story is presented and structured. All right, so therein lies the challenge. And by the way, I mean your numbers on Parrot Analytics. I'm really curious to know like how Parrot Analytics gets Disney Plus numbers, because they don't. Okay.
They did explain it, and I can go find it.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to know, because we're both marketing guys. We're both into analytics, but I know that they did not get Disney's real numbers, so they are deriving those numbers from someplace.
Yes.
But they're also saying those numbers are flat, relative to The Mandalorian. So here you have a creative choice by really talented people that it's not working. You've got audience reviews that are dropping off precipitously. You have, and I'm not talking about like the Movies R Us review services, or even just Joe and Jill Twitter follower and their reviews. I'm talking about like major reviewers from like the Chicago Tribune. Okay, we've got Michael Phillips. Quote: "It's interestingly bad." Okay. Bettany and Olsen have their charms, and that's true. I'll grant you that Elizabeth Olsen is doing a fine job. All the actors are doing a fine job. They have their charms, but their comic ease is AOL, true. And the banter and interplay is never truly funny or funny scary or funny ironic or ironic scary funny. It's a premise stretched like gum across 3 episodes that should have been 2 or 1. That man hits it on the nail. I would kiss him on the mouth for that quote. Rolling Stone. It's a big. It is Alan Seiwalt from Rolling Stone. It's a big risk. You may grow impatient for the actual story to reveal itself. Come on, dude! It took 90 minutes to really start the story. Which, honestly, after about 10 minutes, I said, my wife and I turned to each other and said, "Yeah, okay, this is what's happening. Now we just got to wait." 90 minutes, 3 weeks. This is like painful. So. So WandaVision shares a problem with all of these defunct Defender, adjacent shows. Some inspired moments start to lose their effectiveness because they're less story than there is time to fill. So they're all saying the same thing. New York Times, odd does not by itself equal good. The eccentricities of WandaVision are mostly just weighing itself down. It feels as if it's still waiting for the real show to get started, even with half-hour episodes. That's a long time to wait. Moment by moment, the show's execution of its premise is less fun for the viewer than it evidently was for the creatives. That is on the nose. So fundamentally, okay, so here's what we have here. Okay, we have a pent-up demand. They release WandaVision, and by the way, I'm not a fan of the week to week. I prefer binging. However, I agree with you that they needed to go week to week. Okay, because of the pent up demand and the lack of content. Disney Plus does not have enough new content in the Marvel and Star Wars universe, so they have to go week to week. Okay, which kind of plays into the challenge of this show because they're stretching too little story out over too many episodes. So it frustrates people even more. So, this is part of the problem. So fundamentally, you've got a show that the story really doesn't get going until the end of 3, beginning of 4. Okay. And for those first 3 episodes, we are literally just watching reruns. Parodies, yes, okay, that are falling flat with the humor of the Dick Van Dyke Show, of Bewitched, of help me, I'm getting stuck.
You talk about like the sitcom,
Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch, yeah, absolutely.
Brady Bunch was the Brady Bunch. Okay, I don't know about you because I'm a little older, but I grew up watching reruns of these things back in the 60s and 70s.
Sure.
They weren't good then. I don't want to watch them again. So now, okay, and here's the thing. The story, the real story, okay, that you can derive within the first 10 minutes really still doesn't get started until about 4 when they go, oh, okay, we can peek behind the curtain now and see what this is about. All right, so now we've got 3 weeks, 90 minutes where we're like sitting around waiting for the story to begin. So I'm telling you, this is why it's going from 90 to 80 to 70, because people are frustrated. And this is why the show is problematic. There's another reason structurally, okay? When you talk about TV series or you talk about movies, and it's in both, okay, up front in that pilot episode, you really need to define for the audience who is this about? What is this about? And what's the promise of the show? And they are effectively what's sometimes referred to as hiding the football, okay? They're showing you something else instead. And you're like, wait, what? Okay, I'll give it a few minutes. Now I'll give it an episode. Now I'll give it 2 episodes. And this is why they released 2 episodes at the same time, because nobody was coming back after that first episode because they wouldn't have understood. There were not enough clues, okay, in the first episode to say, oh, there's something behind the curtain. You know what I'm saying? So first, the numbers are just pent up demand. They're not real. Okay. As soon as you have something better to watch, you're going to go watch it in terms of Marvel content. Second, structurally, they made choices that are really difficult for not just, non-Marvel fans, but for Marvel fans to really engage with, because if you really say to yourself, what is this series about? Okay, or who is it about?
Right.
It's clearly about Wanda, because spoiler alert, we know Vision's dead, right?
Right.
And
What?
yet, yeah, and yet we're just watching her go through the motions of these three sitcoms, and so it becomes really difficult to say, how am I emotionally invested in what's supposed to go on? I'm going to give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, were you a Game of Thrones fan?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. All right. So you remember the pilot episode.
I do.
You remember the pilot episode where they introduce Ed Stark and his family, and they find the direwolf puppies, and the king comes and he says to Ed Stark, "I want you to be my hand. I want you to be the hand of the king." Okay. And you see all of the intrigue within that visit to Ed Stark's castle. Kind of what's in store for him. So in that one episode, I know who to relate to. I have a sense for the story. This is the story, and it's kicked off. I don't know where it's going, but it's going to be good. Now imagine if the first 3 episodes of Game of Thrones were about the farrier, the miller, a farmer, and Ed Stark just sort of like pops in occasionally, and only by the end of episode 4 does the king show up, and then he doesn't tell Ed Stark that he wants to be, the hand of the king. He says, Ned, I have something in mind for you, but I'll tell you later. Can you imagine how little people would watch that show? That is exactly what WandaVision is doing to its audience. It's painful. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. So, Kyrus, my good friend,
yes,
you invite me on this this podcast, and we were talking, and I said I'm a kind of guy who likes to prepare.
Yes.
So what did I do? I said I'm going to try to go back and rewatch those episodes.
Okay.
I turned on the first episode on my iPad, and I was like, oh God, this is like passing a kidney stone. If I have to watch Dick Van Dyke have dinner with his boss again, I'm going to lose it. So here's the thing. That's the problem with the show. I believe that's why the numbers are as high as you're suggesting that they are. I do believe, as far as just to sort of wrap up this portion, that for a Kevin Feige Marvel project, this is a big miss. Call it a bomb, call it a flop, call it a big miss. It is the 1941 of his career.
Well, that's all we have time for, folks. I give in. Dan Maurer is right. I am wrong. Good night, everybody. Kidding. That's very. You know what? I'm glad you prepared, Dan. That was a very good speech. I'm sure you practiced it in the mirror this morning. That was very nice. However, half of your argument was based off of hypotheticals. Oh, but what if it came out after this? But what if this? What if that? What if that? Dan, it didn't. This is the reality of where it is right now. Do movies and TV shows find success based off of the time periods that they're released in, or whatever's happening in pop culture or in the world right then and there? 100%. There are movies that are being released right now on Netflix and stuff. Why? Because they don't have anything else. They're finding movies that were filmed 2 years ago, and they're releasing it as if it's brand new because there was nothing else that they had in the docket. Now,
are you suggesting that WandaVision is the Tiger King of Marvel? Is that,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Whether you like Tiger King or not, was it a flop? It was not. It definitely was not. Now, so that's my first rebuttal. That it's like, first of all, you're dealing with a lot of hypotheticals here. What if this? What if that? What if Star Wars came out, against a bigger movie than what it came out against? Who knows? Who cares? You cannot present an argument based off of hypotheticals and expect me to take you seriously, sir. Secondly, you're talking about critic reviews, which is perfectly fine, perfectly, logical to talk about. And you keep mentioning Rotten Tomatoes, right? Yeah. What is the Rotten Tomatoes critic score right now?
Okay. So beware, because if you dig down into the Rotten Tomato critic score, there's a lot of Billy Joe and Bobby Sue's, movie reviews that are listed with those critic scores.
And there's none in the average audience score. There's none.
Well, that's the point. Okay, so
okay, but you were basing your entire argument off, most of your argument off of it.
So there's the audience, okay,
yes.
And then there are real legitimate critics. And when I say real legitimate, I'm talking about New York Times, Chicago.
So what you're saying is that you're picking and choosing which statistics you want to choose from in order to make your argument seem more important. Am I correct there?
No. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the numbers, and then I'm digging down deeper into the numbers.
Okay.
And I'm saying, okay, this is what this kind of number is.
Right.
This is, and then let's take a look at that 90-something%.
93.
What is it?
93%.
Okay, 93% on the critic score. Who are those critics? Okay, I'm not going to take that at face value. I'm going to drill down.
You're going to how could you not take their is Rotten Tomatoes a credible source?
I think parts of it are credible sources.
The parts that support your argument?
No. What I'm saying is you have to know how to interpret the numbers. All right. So if the audience score is, look, this is just the general audience.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay. But if you're saying this is the critic score, then then what's the definition of a critic? Because we know the general audience.
My God, what's the
definition of
Dan,
a real?
You're reaching here.
Critic?
You're reaching here.
Have you seen some of these services? Have you ever wondered how a really bad movie can come out with a trailer that says best movie of the year, and it's a quote, and it's like Movies R Us review service. Okay,
how can you sit here and not think the same thing about quote unquote average audience score? You're saying that the average audience score is more credible. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not me sticking up for Rotten Tomatoes, because I do think that Rotten Tomatoes is a flawed service. I'm not going to lie. I do think that. So I'm not going to debate you there. However, I think that we can't just pick and choose which ones we decide to be support our argument or not.
I'm not picking and choosing. I'm interpreting the data.
Okay.
But by understanding what's in each bucket.
Okay, all right, I understand. And just so you know, so
I understand that you're interpreting that as picking and choosing because you don't like the numbers, but
you're picking and choosing because you don't like the numbers either. No, so so you asked earlier about Parrot Analytics, and so
I'm curious.
Yeah, so they said Parrot Analytics audience attention measurement system captures an audience behavior data set. The company sifts through social media, fan ratings, and piracy data to represent audience demand, which reflects the desire and engagement expressed for a title within the market. While that can skew the data in favor of a title on a platform with a significantly smaller reach than its rivals, but with the vocal online fans, it does help to quantify the intangible buzz element of a series.
Okay, so it's really a measurement of buzz.
Correct.
It's not a measurement of quality. It's not a measurement.
Right, I do want to ask this though. So could a bad movie not be a flop?
Could a bad movie not be a flop? Theoretically, I mean, anything's possible.
So it's fair to say. So it's fair to say that because you went through all of the storytelling things, which we'll get to, and the casting and all of that, that you don't like about it. That is painful to you, but at no point did you is it a flop? No.
Okay.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this.
So my points are on the story. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
It's not about why I don't like it. It's about why the audience numbers are going from 90 to 80 to 70, and
okay.
And I'm telling you, it's going even lower. By the way, do we know yet when Falcon and Winter Soldier are coming? Is that the
March.
next one?
Yeah, it's going to premiere 2 weeks after WandaVision is finished.
And do you know? Have they said yet? What day of the week it's going to get released?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
You watch. They're going to try to put that in front of WandaVision. Now, why would they do that if WandaVision was?
To put it in front of WandaVision? How so?
Okay. The stronger show goes first. It's the lead-in. So they want so if I'm Kevin Feige and I'm looking at the numbers that nobody else can see except Disney, and I'm watching my numbers go like this, okay, on WandaVision, right? I'm putting Winter Soldier. I'm gonna move. Hold on.
So what you're suggesting is that what you're saying is that there's a chance.
What time? I'm sorry. What time are they releasing this? I'm a little behind because I watch it in the evenings. And then
they release it. They release it at Eastern time at 3 a.m.
Okay, so it's 3 a.m. because there was another time, right? It was
all 3 a.m. Eastern time, so it's midnight on the West Coast.
Okay, so I withdraw the statement because if it were television and timed and they were releasing at a certain time, they would have done Winter Soldier as a lead-in.
Right.
Because everybody would want to come see Winter Soldier, and they'll stay for one.
Right. And let the record show, for those of you that aren't familiar, obviously because of the pandemic, the timeline of a couple different things kind of got thrown off. I believe I read online, and I'm not sure how true it is because the internet sometimes lies. I believe, who'd have thunk? I believe that. WandaVision actually wasn't supposed to be the first show out of the gates. I believe it was actually supposed to be, TV show-wise, it was supposed to be Winter Soldier and Falcon. But for whatever reason, they put WandaVision first, and then Falcon Winter Soldier. I want to get into something that we talked about, that we kind of alluded to. I want to talk about binging versus weekly releases, right? I know that you said you are a fan of binging shows. I am too. I'm a big fan of binging shows. I don't think that releasing all of the episodes are for every show. I think that shows like this, Mandalorian, Flight Attendant, Handmaid's Tale, those type of shows which release on a weekly basis, and obviously all the network shows, but we're going to take network out of this. On the streaming services, the shows that release on a weekly basis sometimes can start like these water cooler conversations in between the week. So obviously, for those of you that don't know, at the end of the previous episode of last week, we got a glimpse into what some may say, I don't believe this, but some are saying that this is the intro to the X-Men. I think they're doing like a little bait and switch in my personal opinion, but that we got a little intro to the X-Men at the end of episode 5. Because of that, the buzz all of this week has been about WandaVision and the X-Men. I think that if this was released binging-wise, it would be a completely different story and that there wouldn't be nearly as much buzz as there is now. So I think with this show, I'm glad they're doing it weekly. I'm a fan of binging, but for WandaVision, I like that they're releasing it weekly. What are your thoughts?
I have to agree. I prefer binging. I don't know if you've ever seen Bosch.
With what's his name from Lost? What's his name? Titus Welliver.
Titus Welliver.
Yes.
Great series.
He's a great actor. Underrated.
7 or 8 or 9 or something.
He was on The Mandalorian this season for like a little bit part 2, a little bit.
Yeah. He just I think it was his opportunity to say, "Yay, I was on a Star Wars show." But yeah, I mean, my wife and I'll just sit there for hours and binge off that show. But I have to agree with you for 2 reasons. One was the one that you mentioned, which is there are certain types of shows that need that kind of help, or can generate that kind of buzz, over time. But the other one was they don't have enough content. They really, if they release,
you're talking about Disney Plus does not
Disney
have
Plus.
Yes,
Disney Plus doesn't have enough content. So if they had released WandaVision all 9 episodes, then boom.
I would have. I probably, to be honest, if they released it all at once, I probably would have watched it all within one day. Mainly because like I work in social media, right? So like I'm on social media all day. So whenever WandaVision comes out, I actually have to wake up early and watch it before I go into work. Otherwise, it's going to be spoiled like that for me because I'm literally on social media all day. And like just the little clues of what's trending will easily spoil things for me. So I have to watch it beforehand. That's how I was with Game of Thrones as well. I had to watch it Sunday night.
So yeah, I agree. I mean, there are shows like WandaVision where, and this was a smart move to release it, on a weekly basis. I think you're going to see more of that from a lot of these streamers as they realize they're going to get their numbers go boom when they release a new series, and then drop.
Right.
Okay, because there's nothing new for people to watch because they're only coming for that.
Sidebar question for you. In regards to streaming services, there's so many streaming services that are being released right now, which kind of defeats the purpose of cutting the cable, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these streaming services? Because I feel like everybody has like a NBC Plus and Discovery Plus and BET Plus and Disney Plus and all of these pluses and premium channels. What are your thoughts on all these streaming channels that are being released?
This is getting really expensive for people.
It is. It's very expensive.
It's on one hand, from a creative perspective and a content creation perspective, it's fantastic because, all of these streaming services have to invest. I mean, and Netflix has invested billions of dollars. There's talk they might be breaking even somewhere soon or around now, but like if it didn't work, they would have imploded with all of the debt that they've assumed from the billions of dollars that they're investing in creating new content.
I'm looking at you, Quibi. Nice try, buddy.
So from a content creation perspective, and for artists and for people who work in that field, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, because it's offering the chance for a lot of people, especially people of color, that may not have had chances to put out television shows or movies. With big backing of studios and stuff like that, it gives them the chance to get their work seen by people. Another sidebar question in regards to obviously WB Warner Brothers announced that all of their major movies are going to be released on HBO Max this year, including ones like Godzilla vs. Kong and Matrix and the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. All of these movies that probably would have been released in movie theaters are going to be released on HBO Max mainly, and that's how people are going to watch it. What is your view? I love the movies. I love going to the movies. I do miss that, but I guess I understand what they're doing. But what are your thoughts on it?
So that also include that whole slate also included Dune, right?
It did, yes.
Okay.
Yes, which I know the company is not happy about. The company that made it.
We should do a whole episode on. Dune. Yeah. They're screwed because all of the top creative in Hollywood now doesn't want to work with them because of this. Now they might have taken care of Gal Gadot and her director. Oh my God.
Oh no. My goodness, we're gonna get murdered for this.
The awesome director of Wonder Woman. They took care of them with their back end. They gave them like $10 million each and said, okay, we'll take care of you. But everybody else, who stands to make huge, money on the back end, isn't getting that back end money.
Patty Jenkins.
Oof. Thank you.
Yes.
Isn't getting. By the way, we should do a whole episode on Wonder Woman 1984 and why that was a flop.
Yeah, we want to talk about flop, but they greenlit Wonder Woman 3, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. So anyway, so yeah, put it aside, it's understandable under the circumstances. And there was a trend sort of going towards sort of shortening the window between theatrical releases and streaming and all of those types of things. But the notion that, theater is dead and everything's going to go to streaming, that's not happening.
I agree.
As soon as the pandemic ends, okay, then you're just going to see the theaters pick right up. And by the way, make sure you buy AMC stock.
Yeah, right. Did you buy AMC stock? Did you make some money?
Yes, I did.
Very nice. You gonna buy me lunch tomorrow? That's the deal, right? I have you on my podcast, and you buy me lunch with your AMC stock. Did you do it through Robinhood? Do you have Robinhood?
No, I don't need that. No, and actually, before that whole sort of Reddit and Robinhood thing happened, is when I actually bought my stock because I knew this is going to come back. So, so basically, what's happening? Because I'm with you, okay. Going to the theater is an experience.
Yes.
I mean, I'll give an example. News of the World, right?
Yes, with Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks movie. Okay.
You like that movie? I remember seeing a post. You liked that movie, right?
I mean, like, put it this way, I can't. The notion of spending $30 for a first run movie on a streaming service, is just ridiculous.
That's what I did with Mulan.
Yeah. I waited on Mulan. Thank God I waited on Mulan.
Yeah.
Right. But I said, it's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
it's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
So we sprung for the money, right? Yeah, and it's a good movie, but it's the small screen just sucked the life out of that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
All of those big John Ford Vista type shots just died.
Yes.
They fell flat. And I know if I was sitting in the movie theater beside my friend Kai,
You would appreciate
he'd
it
going,
more.
wow.
Absolutely, especially with the surround sound. And then my favorite part of going to the movies is not even necessarily just like the screen and the sound. I like the people. Like when I went to go see Avengers Endgame and like hearing people scream and cheer, like all of these superheroes on, nothing beats that feeling. Nothing beats that feeling. Spoiler alert: when Tony
on their
dies,
nose and sniffle.
yeah, right. Like the person I went with, my friend Mike, we were sitting there, and then when the camera pans away and it shows that Tony, has the Infinity Stones. My friend Mike, he just grabbed my leg and he like audibly gasped, and like the whole audience is like, "Woo, yeah!" And then like it was as if we were at like a sporting event. It was crazy, and I miss that so much. The last movie I saw at the movie theater was what's her face, Harley Quinn.
Okay.
That's the last movie I like Harley Quinn. I like her. I like that character. The movie was just a little miss for me, but
yeah. So you wish it was a different movie that was your last movie in the theater.
I do. By the way, we're gonna get hated on so much because the three movies that we said we didn't like: Wonder Woman. What was it? What was the other one? Harley Quinn.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes. No. Yeah. I liked the first one.
Oh my God, the first one was fabulous.
It was great. It was fantastic. So speaking of, let's talk about casting. I want to talk about casting for WandaVision. So I actually broke this down into 3 tiers of the people that I like here in the show. Tier 1, these are my favorite actors on the show. Obviously, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany. I think that with the material that they're given for a superhero. Yes, sure. Because like I think that like it could have easily been after school special cheese fest kind of stuff, and I don't get that. Like they are taking this very seriously. I feel, like with the stuff that they're given. I feel like Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are taking this very seriously, and you're gonna get mad at me for this. I'm about to say something that's gonna piss you off. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Elizabeth Olsen is going to get an Emmy nomination and a Golden Globe.
She might.
Mm-hmm. I mean, given how weird the Emmys and the Golden Globes are sometimes, especially when they want to get ratings at ceremonies, I think that they're going to get an Emmy nod. Mainly because I think it's a beautifully acted performance, and if Mandalorian can get some love, I think that this show will get some love too.
Yeah, I have to agree with you that Bettany and Olsen are doing a really good job, especially Olsen. I do have a bit of an issue with the inconsistency of her character's reactions in the first couple of episodes. I don't think it's her. I think it's the way it's written, because you'll notice, like, when those creepy things happen, right? That sort of breaks the sitcom wall.
Right.
In the first couple of episodes, she's like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on," and then by episode 3, she knows exactly what's going on. Have you noticed this?
I have, and I personally think that there's a reason for that. I think that the writing here, and this is my prediction for the end game here. Whatever happens at the end, I think that everything that we saw happened for a reason. And it'll be explained, and it's going to make sense, and it's going to make us appreciate those quote unquote boring first 2 episodes. I think it's going to make us appreciate it even more, because like we don't know if there's clues. There might have been there might be something staring us in the face right now, and that's what I feel is exciting about this show. The fact that we don't know that, I don't feel like the MacGuffin or the football always has to be like right in your face. I think that sometimes the mystery behind it is just as intriguing, if not better, if it's used correctly.
I agree that there's probably things hidden in these early episodes. But for me, it's like, it's not about a MacGuffin or a football. It's about a story where you care about the character. And
Mm-hmm.
I do not care about them. And fundamentally, it's the
Wow.
way he's presenting.
Okay.
Put it this way: if and we'll probably get to this.
Yeah.
I've seen the movies. I know
Yeah.
the characters.
Yes.
Okay. So can you imagine somebody walking in now and sort of like, who? I'm sorry.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's actually that's the one critique that I have, which we'll definitely get into. So let's talk. That's tier one. Let's talk about tier two. Catherine Hahn, and Teyana Paris. Teyana is who plays Monica Rambeau. Those are my tier two actors there. I think I've always loved Catherine Hahn. I've always thought that she was an underrated actress in general. So it's nice to see her get her flowers, I think, in this show.
Bad Moms, right?
What's up?
She did Bad Moms, right? Which
Bad Moms?
that movie? Isn't there's a movie called
yeah. Oh, she was in that. That's right. Yes.
And she was like the over the top drinking,
Yes. Yes, I do remember that movie. Yes. I forgot she was in that.
No,
She's great.
I think she's great, but you'll notice she's forced to overact her part in every single episode.
Yes, but I think that's on purpose. I think that is so on purpose.
I know it. I know it's on purpose, but I feel bad for her. Look,
Don't feel bad for her. She made more money making one episode of this than both of us combined for our lifetime. She'll be okay.
That's very true.
She'll be okay. It's a Marvel movie TV show.
But here she is, this talented, actor, and she's like, okay, overact, please. It's like again and again and again.
Dan, let me tell you something right now. If somebody gave me $1 million and said overact, sorry, sir. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Give me the script. Let's go. I'm ready.
I would like to believe she got $1 million, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah, well, still, she got her money.
Now, also, Bethany probably got $1 million.
Oh, well, without a doubt. Teyana Paris. I like her. She is tier 2 for me, but she's like borderline tier 2, tier 3, only because I'm on the fence about some of the choices that she has made as an actress. I'm curious because I know she's going to be used further past this TV series because they had already announced that she's going to be in the Captain Marvel sequel along with Miss Marvel. And we can also do another episode about Captain Marvel as well one day. But Teyana Paris, what are your thoughts on Miss Monica Rambeau?
I think she's doing as well as she can with the material she has.
Mm-hmm.
The character. Okay, it also goes back to like, whose story is this?
Right.
Okay, because they're all over the place.
Wait, which perspective? What is the perspective here? Yeah, sure.
Right, and it's certainly not Monica Rambeau. So okay, so she already has a secondary or tertiary role depending on which episode she's in, but it's kind of a stereotypical hero role as it's kind of like written. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So there's not a lot to sort of like really sink your teeth into as yet. Mm-hmm. Now they're obviously trying to set up a few things, her mother's history and
right.
Marvel and all those things. So we'll see where the sort of the role takes her.
Yes.
But I can't really fault her for the choices given the circumstances.
That's fair. I agree with you there. Tier 3. This is what I call my redemption tier. I got to give some love to Kat Dennings, who's playing Darcy, because I remember when the original Thors came out, the first Thor and then Thor: The Dark World, the movie we do not talk about. She was.
I liked that movie. What are people
okay, about? All right. You know what? This podcast is. Oh, you liked Dark. Get out of here.
I don't rank it very high in the Marvel universe, but okay, it was better than WandaVision.
That is incorrect. What are you drinking tonight? Because I want some of this
vodka.
I think so thoughts on Thor: Dark World aside, if there's one thing that I remember people hating on it was Kat Dennings' character. I liked her character a lot. I thought that she added some like levity to a movie that was taking itself way too seriously, and I thought she added some levity to it. And some people found her annoying. I thought that she was great, and so she comes in here to this show. We see this character who was kind of like on the bottom tier of memorable characters in the MCU, and now I think she's doing a fantastic job pairing her up with Randall Park, who I've always loved as well, who's a great actor, a great comedic actor, I should say, playing Jimmy Woo. Pairing them up, I think, is great because, in my opinion, I feel like sometimes Kat and Randall will say things that we're all thinking, right? Not just about the show, but about things that happen in the Marvel universe. They'll say things and they'll be like, I totally had that conversation after watching Iron Man one night. I like those two characters a lot. I call those my redemption, that they can bring back two characters that were so bottom tier, yet make them so significant and interesting. What are your thoughts?
I like the fact that you're calling them redemption characters, because I think they're the only redeeming quality of WandaVision. That's a little harsh. I get it.
I almost spit up my water. That was funny. That was well played, sir.
So I honestly, I think they're my favorite part of WandaVision. And here's what they are: the comic relief in a series where it's supposed to be a lot of comedy and the comedy doesn't work. And I'm going to make an observation: if you watch their scenes and they play together, their comedy comes from truth, authenticity. It's like it's real. You know what I mean? Like you just said, they're commenting on things that they see around them. You know what I mean? It's like you laugh because you can relate to the truth that they're sort of like tweaking in their comic reference. Okay. Right. But if you look at the comedy that Olsen and Bettany are forced to play in the first 3 episodes, in those sitcoms, it's not funny. It's not funny because there's no truth to it, because they're parodying, what were effectively joke lines from the 1950s and 60s and 70s.
Which were hits, though, back in those days. They were hits. People loved that stuff.
Well, let's keep in mind they were hits because there were only three channels.
Okay, yes, in context, Dan, yes, there were only 3. Yeah, they didn't have a streaming service to go to, but the people, there was a lot of shows on TV, and some were forgettable and some were not.
So they're trying to tell jokes that from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that just don't work, and parody those shows, and so the humor kind of falls flat. Whereas if you watch, Dennings and Park, their humor just it sparkles.
I do agree with that. I do agree that they stand out in that regard. Are there any other characters that I did not mention that you are a fan of or that you don't like?
I do have a bit of an issue with Josh Stamberg as the director. It's not Josh, or his
character.
Work. The character is just another bureaucratic villain stereotype.
Sure.
Now, okay, maybe they have plans going down, the line, but the biggest problem with those bureaucratic villains is the same over and over again. Okay, you've got a hero in those scenarios. That's Rambo's character says we have to do this, and the bureaucratic villain says no. And it makes absolutely no sense why he's not listening to her.
I mean, it makes sense once we'll find out why he's doing that, right?
Wow,
it makes sense then.
So patient,
like legit. But I don't know, because I wouldn't put it past Marvel to try to once again to bait and switch us, because we're so used to that trope. If you look back at Captain Marvel, they totally set up. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a great actor. He was in the Outsider. I cannot remember his name.
Are you talking about Jude Law?
No, he played. He was a Skrull. So come to find, he was a Skrull, but he played the bureaucratic white guy, villain guy. And you went the whole time thinking that he was the bad guy, but come to find out, he was not the bad guy at all. In fact, he was trying to. His motivations were completely, different than what we thought. So I would not put it past, and that's one of the things I liked about Captain Marvel. I know Captain Marvel gets shit on a lot, but I did like that.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it gets shit on a lot, which I don't understand. I liked it. Was it perfect? No, but I liked it. I didn't think it was bad.
General criticism.
What's up?
The general criticism of Captain Marvel?
That it's traditional superhero tropes, that it's the Jude Law twist was incredibly predictable. The fight scenes were that Brie Larson is a Oscar-winning Brie Larson is a static character that just reads like she acts like she's just reading off a piece of paper, like that kind of stuff. I thought it was a good movie. Definitely better than Thor: The Dark World.
I don't have major criticisms with either of those movies. I mean, they are what they are,
Right.
They're enjoyable. I mean, I know there's always these things sort of like behind the scenes that the audience never sees that sort of impacts, the outcome. I mean,
Right.
Thor, Dark World, I think it lost its director, right? Actually, Patty Jenkins, right, was supposed to direct that.
Yes, she was. Yes, and then then it was, because I know Kenneth Branagh directed the first one,
right?
And then he did not come back for the second one. But then, thank God for our friend, what's his name, coming in to do Ragnarok.
The guy with the strange name.
Yep. We're so bad at this, Dan. We're supposed to remember these names. Damn it!
You're the guy who's taking this in every direction except the ones I researched.
Listen, this is a conversation. We're just spitballing here. So let's talk about. This is what I do want to talk about. I want to talk about storytelling, because storytelling is a big factor here. This is something that you ranted about in your opening speech. You ranted about it. I want you to lead this one off. Tell me what's on your mind, storytelling wise.
Regarding WandaVision or just generally?
WandaVision.
Well, I pretty much nailed it, in my opening statement, which is it doesn't, you are expected to wait for the real story to kick in an hour and a half to almost 2 hours into this series, and that's like 3+ weeks.
Right.
That ultimately, there's no true singular perspective that says this is who the story's about. You assume it's Wanda,
right?
But you're all over the place. But more importantly, you never really see things from Wanda's perspective, because the real story hasn't started yet until she comes out of the bubble, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which, by the way, I think it was a nice scene when she effectively, a flick of the wrist and all of the laser pointers point toward.
Well, she's the most powerful Avenger. Of course, she can do that. She can do whatever she wants.
Is that true, or is Captain Marvel the most powerful?
I say Wanda is the most powerful Avenger.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, but only then. I mean, and by the way, that was predictable. Okay. Saw that coming 10 minutes into episode 1, just had to wait until episode 4.
That she's going to walk out of the...
that this is all one big bubble.
Oh, sure.
That there's something behind the curtain, that she's a big part of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So...
That's because you're so smart, Dan, and you've written stuff and you've seen all of the movies and you know what's coming. But for some people... This was a genuine, oh, interesting. You're just on a tier above everybody else, Dan Maurer.
I'm not. I'm just impatient when other people break, sort of break with the fundamental conventions of story theory is what I'll call it.
Right.
Okay. So
I'm glad you brought up the word patience, because I think it's clear that I have a lot more patience.
Oh, yes, you do.
I do, and to be honest, I've always been that way with TV shows, especially and movies, where I will never judge a movie or TV show without knowing the full story. Now, I'm not talking about if it's a show that takes place over 10 seasons. If I usually after a season, we'll get an idea of whether we actually like it or not, or blah blah blah, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm reading a book or if I'm watching a movie, I'm not going to just get up and walk out a quarter of the way through because I'm not a fan. I'm going to watch it, even if I'm starting off slow. But I'm going to watch it and I'm going to enjoy it, because I feel like sometimes the story writers put this exposition in and they're just stay with us. Be patient, because the reward for staying patient is going to be this really extravagant, fun, energetic feeling that like I think that we sometimes overlook because we live in this binging culture where we want everything right now. I want all the answers right now. Right? Some of my favorite movies and TV shows are movies and TV shows that don't answer a damn question. Children of Men, for example.
Oh, you're a Lost guy, huh?
You know what? I was a Lost guy. 100%.
So I have a question. I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
So whether it's a TV show or a movie, what is it that initially engages you? Okay, in about a story or a singular story or a series. So it's a pilot of a series or it's a feature film. Okay, what is it up front that engages you and make you want to sort of sit there and lean forward and want
the first thing I think of is whether Dan Maurer will like it or not. If I know he's not going to like it,
right.
To why? No, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. The thing that I look for in regards to like I guess we'll talk TV shows in this instance. I like when they set up a story and I know that even though I may not have all of the answers, that it's going to build up to something. Now, with that being said, I am spoiled in the fact that as an MCU fan, I know that something big is coming. I know that there's going to be a payoff of some sort and that it's going to connect into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole, which we all love. So it's easier for me to be patient, with that. Whereas, and we might as well just talk about this now, non-MCU fans, people that just casually walk off the street and be like, oh, I like Elizabeth Olsen. I'm going to watch her TV show. And then they turn it on and they have no idea what's going on. This show is not for them. No. It's not. So for me, it's going to be whether I know that whether I get that feel as to whether me watching this right now is going to pay off in the future. That's why I love psychological thrillers. I love that kind of suspense, that low-key suspense. I love that kind of stuff because the exposition may be so boring to some people, but then when you get to the end and you realize why they did things the way they did throughout the entire movie, you're like, okay, I appreciate that more. And I'm hopeful that they're going to stick the landing. I'm hopeful. Not a guarantee.
If I understand you correctly, it's the story hook that gets you more so than the character.
Yeah, I would say so. I think they're one and the same sometimes. Like I feel like if I want to know where that character ends up, or if that character I find that character interesting, then yeah, sure. I think they're the same. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's interesting because. If we actually take a look at WandaVision, like you were saying, from a non-MCU fan's perspective, they have no idea who these characters are.
None. They have none. No idea.
So if you had, in other words, you care about the characters because you know who they are and you know their backstory already.
Yes.
Okay. And you're hooked by the by the concept of the story.
Yes.
So I'm a little different. Which is, you said, character and story should be one and the same. Yes, ideally they should be. And when they're not, like, all of a sudden I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, wait a second. Like, one is supposed to, like, dovetail with the other. One should create the other. And it all comes down to, for me, like, the character. And when I talk about, like story theory and concept, I go back to, all the way back to Aristotle's Poetics. Which is the fundamental of all sort of storytelling, right? Back to the ancient Greeks, and the whole concept of the search for truth, and the characters kind of like the story is the character's search for truth. Now, in Wanda's case, okay, it's really the truth is going to be how to deal with grief. Okay,
sure, 100%.
Do that from 10 minutes into the first episode.
Yes.
But at the moment. Like, put it this way, that didn't like play any role in the way they're structuring the story until what? Episode 4, episode 5,
But
something.
it did though. I feel like it.
Only if you had seen all of the movies.
Correct. Yes.
What was going
Yes. You are 100% correct there. I think if anybody, like if my mom were to turn on WandaVision, she'd be like, "What the hell is this? Who are these people?" Like I'm like that person was hanging out with Black Panther. You know him? That's the one Marvel movie my mom saw, Black Panther, and she loved it. She saw it literally 5 times. She
How
loved
can
it.
you not love it?
Right, it's great. And I asked her, I'm like, Mom, I told her, I was like, Mom, Black Panther, the character, he's in other movies. And she's like, no, I'm good. She's like, no, I'm okay.
Would you say that's the best Marvel? Would you say that's the best Marvel movie?
That is top 3 for me. Top 3.
Okay, I think I know what the other 2 are. Go ahead.
My favorite Marvel movie ever is Winter Soldier.
Okay.
I love Winter Soldier. I felt like that was the first movie to set the tone for what we know now, for the tone that they take. I think that I also believe that was the brothers' first movie that they directed with the MCU, Winter Soldier. So
I thought they did Captain America: First Avenger, didn't they?
Nope. That was Joe
Russo.
Yeah. No. That was the Russo brothers didn't come in until Winter Soldier.
Look it up, dude.
I'm looking up right now.
You're probably right. You're probably, but now it's going to drive me nuts.
First Avenger came out in 2011, and it was directed by Joe Johnston.
Oh, that's it.
Who I like.
Yeah.
Who I like.
A different Joe, though.
Yes, a different Joe. A different Joe. But yeah, so I would say Winter Soldier is number 1. Number 2, I really liked Infinity War. I really liked, because I mean there's nothing more, like, there was so much mystique around it. I thought that they ended it well and it just set up things, and I also up there, I would say, like, to round out the top 5, the first Avengers movie. I thought, like, I really enjoyed it because it was just like a cheese fest, and it's like, oh, there's a bunch of Marvel characters and they're all on the screen at the same time. Like, I love that. I loved every second of that. And then from there, number 5. This is where it might change from day to day. To be completely honest, it might change from day to day. Because there's a bunch of ones that I really enjoyed, that some of which I think are underrated. Like Ant-Man, I think is underrated.
That's one of my favorites. I mean, I wouldn't put it at the top, but I mean, I really enjoyed the hell out of that.
Yes, me too. I thought it was nice. I thought it was simple, just to the point. Paul Rudd is adorable. You can't go wrong, in my opinion.
Right.
Can't go wrong. Speaking of, so we're Marvel fans. You said you've seen all of the Marvel movies.
Yeah,
I've seen all the Marvel movies. Did you say which one is your favorite? Is that your favorite? Black Panther? Is that your favorite?
I don't really have a specific favorite, but as I sit here and say, okay, I think you have to put Infinity War and Endgame kind of in its own category, because
I think that's fair.
It's a 2-parter.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just put that aside for the moment. Then the next 2 that really kind of like vie for that top spot are Black Panther and Captain America: First Avenger.
Okay, I'm just glad you didn't say Dark World.
No. And as I'm sort of thinking this through, I mean, Captain America was just so classic, and they kept it in its period.
Yes.
So smart. But Black Panther created a universe unto itself.
Yes.
And at the same time, a cast of very real and engaging and complex characters, and played with themes that no other, Marvel film dared to go to and explore in a single movie.
Yes. Especially one of the reasons why I think that movie stands out is because it has my favorite quote unquote villain in it. I thought that Michael B. Jordan played that so well, because that's one of the very few times that I can look at a villain. I'm going to keep putting that in quotes. I'm going to look at a villain and say, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. Yeah. I don't agree with how you're going about doing it, but I get it. I get why you're doing it. Well, and I feel for you.
that's a reflection of great writing.
Yes.
It's like the villain never believes that they're the villain.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when you have a character that's kind of that complex on the other side of your hero, then real sparks will fly, not just on a physical level, but on the sort of like that metaphysical level, on the
right.
On that sort of story and theme level. And it's just so it's got to be the most accomplished Marvel movie ever done. When is 2 coming out?
So I think it's going to come out in either 2022 or 2023, one of the two. And I'm I think the question now is obviously how they're going to handle this, because unfortunately the brilliant actor Chadwick Boseman passed away last year. Rest in peace. He is just brilliant. I've never seen anything. Well, there's only one movie of his that I saw that I was like, ew. And it was a movie called 27 Bridges. I don't know why I saw it, but it was awful. It was
like a crime drama or something.
And they had to shut down all of the bridges into New York City to find a person that killed a bunch of cops and stuff. It was really bad. It was really bad.
Let me just say, I remember seeing an interview with remember the great actor Jason Robards. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and an interviewer asked him, "You are such a phenomenal, gifted actor. Why would you do such a bad movie as X?"
Mm-hmm.
I forget what movie they called him at. He said, "Well, my kids needed braces."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are just times in life when, as an artist, you got to go, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to live too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a bad movie, but I mean, I think he's entitled to one because he's had hit after hit after hit after hit, where he's just brilliant.
Hey, listen, if Tom Hanks can get away with Turner and Hooch, then we
you didn't like that movie?
Give him 27 Bridges. He's got a pass, right?
That's fair. What's sad is that Chadwick Boseman in 27 Bridges was acting amongst some other really good actors that were also just like not used right. Like J.K. Simmons, I believe, was in it as well, and like I can't remember who the woman was in it, but she was pretty popular as well. It was just a really bad movie. But yeah, I'm curious. Obviously, in regards to WandaVision, MCU fans, what are you seeing from what you read online? What is the MCU fan reaction to WandaVision's first 5 episodes?
I actually don't follow, that type of social media. And in fact, I know there's like a whole kind of like, cottage industry of fans that are like, tweeting and creating videos and, oh, there's a new trailer out. Let's dissect the 3 seconds in the trailer.
They do that. And guess what? I watch them. I watch all of them.
Do you? Yeah.
I watch like there's one specific one that I watch because I don't mind trailer breakdowns. I mind when they reach. Like what you're mentioning now, like when they reach, like, well, at 0.2 seconds in, you see this bright red flash, and that bright red flash represents the X-Men coming into the Fantastic Four, and the blah, blah, like, no, it's just a red flash. Like, they probably forgot to take it out. Like, it was no big deal.
So I don't really follow those. In fact, I don't even remember seeing a trailer for WandaVision before seeing the first episode. I had heard about it. I saw the clips of Kevin Feige going, and there'll be WandaVision, and then you see the logo, and that's it. Yes. And sort of the concept of sort of the TV thing is pretty much all I knew. But you'll notice, in preparation for this podcast, I went back to look at the first trailer. Now go watch it. They focus on the real story in the trailer. Not those like TV episodes that you're like forced to sit through for 3 or 4 weeks, because they know that wasn't going to sell a damn thing. Tell them the real story. So.
I do see your point there. However, they can do that because they're going like if this was in the movie theaters, they would just have our money regardless.
This is true.
Like, let's be real. Like, they would just have our money. They would just have our money regardless. It would just be this like 3.5, 4 hour movie that we're like, oh, cool.
It'll be raking in the dough,
We talked a little bit about critic reception. You read off some quotes that you so brilliantly looked up. in that regard. What do you think carries more weight, critics or audiences?
I think what carries more weight is your friends.
Mm.
And you know, I know a lot of people like to use the term influencers and things like that, but I'm not talking about like internet influencers, excuse me, or or audience reviews. I'm talking about friends. It's like so Kyrus said this, or John said that, or or Jeff said this, and then you're like, hey, I respect their opinion, and so therefore I'm eager to learn more.
Right.
And that I think that's always been the case. I think that's been the case for whether it's books or plays or musicals or movies. I remember working at Doubleday many years ago when we were publishing the first novel, a thriller by a lawyer by the name of John Grisham called The Firm. Nobody had ever heard of.
He's my favorite author, by the way.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep.
So,
Runaway Jury is my favorite book.
So here we are. The book hasn't been released yet. I got copies of the book on my shelf, and my boss comes in and he says, because I'm just an assistant, right? And he hands me a list of the top lawyers, in New York and some other cities, and says, I'm writing them a letter. I want you to send a free copy to every single one of these guys. Okay. And so effectively, he was creating buzz.
Right.
He was saying these are people, are influencers within a category that's going to be interested in this book about lawyers, but are also wealthy, so they buy hardcover books as opposed to say mass market paperback books and things like that. And so he was tapping into the original influencers.
Right.
And I think that's really what it comes down to: is people and respect, and you hear their opinion at a cocktail party, and you go, I want to check that out.
Okay, that's fair. Would you say that this show has a lot of buzz amongst friends and groups in the world?
Well, I can only go by the
answer is yes, by the way.
I'll
answer it for you. The answer is yes.
The measurement of buzz.
Yes.
So therefore, if you tell me that's what their numbers are, I think that's a fair assessment of buzz.
Right. So that brings me to the question I asked before. I don't remember if you actually answered it or not, but
wait. Before you ask that question, what was the Parrot Analytics report on buzz for Wonder Woman 1984?
Oh, I can look it up.
Can you look that up?
Let's see. Absolutely. Let's see. Because
we both know that movie falls short.
I agree, and here's the thing: I saw somebody wrote that the only people that didn't like that movie were men. I watched it with my sister. My sister hated it more than I did, and I put that up onto my Facebook just to see what women would say, and like it was majority of the women that responded to my posts. Like they said, it was just not a good good movie. Let's see what it says. I don't think I would have to look. I might have to send this to you.
Okay.
And I have to look it up and see what they say.
Because I will bet you, I'll bet you a beer that the Wonder Woman 1984 buzz numbers from Parrot Analytics, which really represents the buzz on social media, is probably as high or higher than WandaVision.
You think so?
Yeah. Okay. For a lot of reasons. And the point being this: it doesn't have to be good, or a hit in order to, have a lot of buzz. I suspect that if Parent Analytics was measuring Donald Trump right now, his buzz would be off the charts. His numbers would be off the charts, right?
I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, right.
That doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, I might. Let's see. Wonder Woman 1984 saw its Rotten Tomatoes certified ratings stripped and fell to a current rating of 68 fresh from 89% on December 16th to 80% on December 22nd. 2017 was 93% certified fresh. Yeah, it didn't really. I would have to look this up. I'll look it up and I'll send it your way.
Interesting that Wonder Woman's only 10 points lower than WandaVision.
Oh my god, I can't with you.
Oh, yeah.
So this is before we go into our closing arguments here. Is there anything that you did some diehard research on that you wanted to put out there to get your incorrect opinion across?
I have made my case, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the question, the final question is WandaVision a flop? This is what I wrote. I wrote the big risks have paid off, and we get a unique view into the MCU we've never had before. And they've done it with 0 fight scenes. None. There have been 0 fight scenes.
Oh wait, they had a spat where they floated up to the.
They did, yeah, they did. Which actually, I'm not gonna lie, that was probably my least favorite moment in the series so far. That was a little cheesy. I felt like the only thing that would have made it better is if we could see the wires lifting up Paul Bettany. Like I feel like that was the only thing that would have made it better. But generally speaking, like there hasn't been, like when you think of Marvel movies, like it's known for its, incredible fight scenes and special effects. We've gotten 0 of that, which I think, and it's still a good show, which I think says a lot about the story that they're telling, Dan Maurer. The big question, and this is right now as we're filming this, as we're recording this, we're only up to episode 5. Episode 6 comes out on Friday, on Friday the 12th. The question that I have for the remainder of the season is, will they stick the landing, right? Because I don't think that it's a flop. I think that like it's doing really well. Will it surpass Mandalorian? Of course not. I don't expect it to. But I do think that they put this show first for a reason. When Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out, will it, will that surpass it? Perhaps. When Loki comes out, will that surpass it? Most likely. But this is a key part of it. Just like Iron Man was a key part of it. Every movie since Iron Man has made more money than Iron Man, right? But Iron Man was a very important part of the MCU when it comes to setting up. If you go back and rewatch Iron Man, which I did a couple years ago, it was my first time watching it since it came out. Right? The first one. The first Iron Man. It's okay. It's okay. Compared to what we're used to now, the first Iron Man is okay. It's not a bad movie, but like if that Iron Man, if they were to introduce the Iron Man character now, it would be a completely different story. Sure. I don't think it would have been as popular as it was. Right? So with that being said, 5 episodes in, is the show a flop? My answer is no. And you want to know how I know it's not a flop, Dan Maurer? Because we just spent an hour and a half talking about it. That's how I know. Name one other show that you and I haven't spoken in years.
Uh-huh.
What brings us together? A TV show. Damn it. There's been a lot of TV shows that have come out since we've met, Dan.
Let me just say that the fact that we've not spoken face to face in years, obviously we've connected on social media, but the fact that we haven't spoken in years and can sit here and have a good time talking about the Marvel universe as we have, that's sort of like the definition of friendship.
100%. 100%. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because I knew that even though we haven't talked in forever, I know that I could feel comfortable telling you how wrong you are, and you would feel comfortable enough being like, okay, Kai, I did some research. Here are some statistics I'm going to throw at your face, and I'll be like, oh, that is a fact. Can't doubt that. Except when you're cherry picking stats,
No, this has been fun. I really appreciate you having me.
No, Dan, I appreciate it. Listen, I'm hoping that I'm right. I'm hoping that Marvel sticks the landing. I'm hoping that you and I have this conversation again in March, and we're sitting here and we're like, I told you so.
I hope you're right as well, because like I said on Facebook, I feel obligated to keep watching it, even though it's like sometimes painful for me, because I feel like, I'm gonna miss something if I don't. Something that I'm going to need to know later for another series.
Yes.
So I really do hope that you are correct, that they do stick the landing, because it can only get better from here.
I love it. I love it. Dan, thank you so much. Dan, if people want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
They can hit me up on Twitter at Dan Maurer, DanMaurer. And that's good.
Yeah, I'll put it down low so you guys can go follow him. Go follow Mr. Dan Maurer. He is a good man. He is my friend. And we sat here and we talked about WandaVision. So go follow him on Twitter, and you can come follow me on your favorite social media platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at The Vibe with Kai. You can also follow me on my official website, thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and videos and images that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. Maybe I'll even throw in a little WandaVision love in my blog this week. But with that said, thank you everybody for listening. As always, God bless and good vibes.